Okay, so in Vectorworks, for those of you that don't know what it looks like, if you're in the Idea Lab, this little blue ball is the Vectorworks icon. It's Vectorworks 2012. If you're downloading Vectorworks, I recommend downloading Vectorworks 2015, which looks like this. Once your files are set up, which I'll do your file setup for you. There's not a whole lot of difference between 2012 and 2015 for scenery design. Okay? There are some minor things, but today we're going to basically be looking at Vectorworks 2012, and we're going to be looking at how a file works and how we move around and stuff like that. So I'm going to start by opening a file. Open documents. So what we want to do today is just get a feeling of how we look around a Vectorworks file. Okay, so I just opened Mainstage Theater V2012. You can download this off of Blackboard. I downloaded it 2 minutes ago. Okay. By the way, since I can't see the screen behind me, if there's something that you guys are having trouble seeing, please let me know. Okay? So when you open up the file, actually I'm going to close all these windows because they may not be open for you. So you will get a file that looks something like this, and there's bars that you can move around. If you're not finding the bars to move around, I'm going to show you to open the first thing. We're going to open some things called palettes, and palettes are groups of tools. That's all they are. And if you go Window and Palettes, you will see that there's a whole bunch of choices. If they don't have a check mark next to them, they're closed. If they have a check mark next to them, they're open. And if they're grayed out like Active Object Info Palette, it means that you can't open it because there's nothing to connect to it. Okay? So what I want is our basic tools for the moment. Okay? Basic tools. Click on that and I get a set of tools. Okay? If you're looking in there and there's a check mark but you can't see it, it means it's been minimized, it's hiding somewhere. So if you close it, so I can close this by going Window, Palettes, Basic, goes away. And the cool thing is when you bring it back, it always pops up on top. So if you can't find it, close it and then bring it back and you'll find it. We looked at the icons a little bit when we got to go into the Idea Lab, but we're going to go through some of our basics. So we want to talk about moving around through Vectorworks. Okay? The hand tool, or pan, and if you notice when I put my mouse on it says pan and H in parentheses. That means if I use the H key, I can access that tool instantly. Tools you find yourself using a lot, memorize the shortcut. Yeah. No. At least 20, it hasn't, and I have not found that in 2015, but since I've now learned all the frickin' shortcuts. And again, that's why I say memorize the ones that are useful to you, okay? By the way, when you watch the video, you probably won't be able to hear Garrett because the microphone's pointing at me. So you'll just hear me answer a question. Yeah, so if you want to be on the video. No, you can ask questions. Just if I forget to repeat them and I'm not answering a complete sentence, please remind me to answer in a complete sentence. Okay, so the hand tool, you click and drag and you can move around, okay? Well, that's all very well and good. Oh, look, this kind of looks like a ground plan of a stage. It kind of looks like the ground plan of our stage, doesn't it? Yay, I wish I could see more of it. So what we want to use is the zoom tool. And the zoom tool looks like a little magnifying glass, okay? And the shortcut for that is C. The shortcuts may be slightly different if you have a Windows machine, okay? Now, when the zoom tool, I click that, you'll notice I get two boxes on this side. The first one is highlighted, zoom, and it says zoom tool marquee mode. And there's also zoom tool interactive mode, okay? Anytime a tool has multiple modes, they're going to show up over here. And you guys can see where I'm pointing with the mouse? I'm learning to point with the mouse and not my finger. Okay, so the marquee mode means, marquee just means draw a box. Anytime we have something in marquee mode, draw a box. So I draw a box, and so I click once, drag, click again, and I have zoomed into that box. That's a really awesome tool for zooming in. What doesn't it do very well? Zoom out, because all I can do is zoom in. That's kind of problematic. So the zoom interactive mode is the magnifying glass with the arrows. If I click the mouse and then move my mouse upwards, I zoom in. If I move my mouse downwards, I zoom out. Make sense? Okay. Takes a little bit of getting used to and thinking about. There is another zoom tool that I want to show you that's very useful, and it's right here. It's called Fit to Objects. If I have nothing selected and I click Fit to Objects, it makes every visible object fit inside my window. Very convenient. Especially if you are so zoomed in, which can sometimes happen, especially if you play with a little trackball on the mouse in the Idea Lab. It zooms you all the way in really easily. And you just need to find where you are. The zoom to fit or fit to objects works really well. The other thing is if I click on something like I'm going to click on this border. Now when I click fit to objects, it zooms in so that that object fills the window. So if you're working on a set piece, something really small and detailed, you can go, I just want to zoom into this. Click on that, fit to objects, and you zoom in, and it's very nice and convenient. It gives you just a little bit of room around the edge so that you can work on stuff. Okay. The other, I'm going to go back to a full-on zoom here. And then our 3D view tool. Okay. Notice when I did that, it's the 3D flyover, my screen changed a little bit. Okay. I went from a 2D plan view to a 3D view. And now when I click on the page, click and then drag my mouse, watch what happens. I can now see the theater in 3D. Ooh, isn't that fun? Okay. If you're in 2015, you actually can do real-time moves pretty well if you're not in color. If you're still in a black and white view, it will actually, the shapes will actually move. And this is not bad, but you can get, you can figure out where you are. And by the way, just so you're aware, it will totally let you look at things from the underside. Oh my gosh, I'm so lost, I don't know where I am anymore. You get something like that, and you get confused. Little simple trick, show you two ways of doing it. If I click here, I have top plan, top, front, right, bottom, all these views so I can get back to a standard view. Top plan is your two-dimensional ground plan view. Okay, so if I get kind of lost as to where I am, I can do a top plan. I'm back home. And life's pretty easy to deal with. Okay. The other thing to do that, I'm going to go back to this view, is Command 5 on an Apple and Control 5 on a PC. That command I recommend memorizing because it's the, oh snark, I'm lost. I can't figure out where I am in the drawing. I'm in some sort of freaky view. It gets you back. It gets you home pretty quickly. So Command 5 on a Mac and Control 5 on a PC. Yeah, gets you to plan view. To plan view, okay? There are shortcuts for all the other views. However, I can't show them to you because you need the 10 key section of your keyboard, and my laptop doesn't have one. But there are 10 key commands that get you to all the other views very quickly. But since I always draft on a laptop, I don't remember them. Okay, and again, there are keyboard commands for almost everything. I only recommend memorizing those that you find really useful. If you keep going to the same thing over and over again, memorize the command because it saves you a lot of time. Okay? So we can move around through the document. We can go to 3D. We can pan. We can zoom. Okay? We have a lot of data on the document. I want to show you the thing called layers and classes. Okay? If you have worked with a Photoshop, GIMP, Illustrator type program, how many of you have worked with something like that? Okay, several of you. Yeah, Steve worked with it yesterday. These things will make a little more sense. Layers and classes are different ways of grouping objects. Every object has a layer and every object has a class. Okay? And let me get the, it's called the navigation palette. Okay? And when you open your drawing the first time, you're going to have All of these, I'm in the classes at the moment, all of these classes, ways to group objects, and all of these layers. You can add more, I'll show you how to in just a second, but it's a good idea to put things on appropriate layers and appropriate classes, because as you're working on something, your drawing can get cluttered. You can have a lot of stuff, and it can be distracting while you're trying to work. And it's wonderful to just say, I'm not working on that, let me turn it off. Okay? The basic philosophy that most designers use and the way your file is going to be set up is that you have a couple of layers, and they're kind of your big picture stuff, and then lots of classes which farther subdivide things. Okay? So I have a layer called lights, which is where I would put your lighting design. We have a layer called sets, which is where your scenery design ought to go. And we have a layer called building, which is where the building should be. And a really cool thing here is we have this little drop down. And if you're in 2015, you have about 6 or 7 more options here, which I will admit to you, I have not explored very much yet. But you have active only, which will only display items in the active layer. Gray others, which will display everything in the active layer, but will show everything else in a light gray. Gray snap. We'll talk about snaps in a minute. No, we won't. We'll talk about snaps on another day. But for the moment, gray snap works the same way as gray. It just adds one more feature. Show others, show snap, and show snap modify. For your layers, I recommend setting your file to show others, or show, actually I recommend show snap others. Because, think about it, can you edit your building in the file? Yes, you can edit in the file. Can you edit the building in real life? No. So, actually there are a couple things, because our building, we remember the proceeding march moves, that's part of the building. So that is something you can edit in the building. But for the most part, if you have it on show snap others, I'm now going to come over here and I'm going to click on part of the building. And I'm going to click. I can click all day. I can't select the building. I can't select anything that's part of the building, which means I can't accidentally edit it. Okay? So I like to keep my layer options in show snap because I can see things I want to see, but I can't edit them. And that means, okay, I want to actually go edit the building. I just have to select the building layer, which is putting the check mark next to it, which is click right there. And now, oh, look, I can select the building. Oh, now I can move the orchestra pit over here. Okay? I don't really want to move the orchestra pit over there, okay? Apple Z does undo. It's Control Z on the PC, and I think you have 15 or 20 layers of undo. There is also a keyboard command for redo, or you can find edit, undo, and redo. Oh, redo is Command Y. Huh, I never redo. I only ever undo. Okay. But your edit, undo, edit, redo are right there. So you can go, oh my gosh, I moved the orchestra pit. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. But like, so if I want to move the sliding wall, I'm going to select it, zoom to fit. Oh, that's a little too far in. Let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Your arrow key, X is your shortcut for that. And now I can edit this. I can move it. Okay, I can't really move it there in real life, so I'm going to put it back, Command Z. You're not going to need to be moving it anytime soon. I just want to show you how you can do that. And then I go back, put my check mark back on sets, and I can't even select it. I can click all day. Does that make sense? Okay, classes. So layers are your big things. You guys probably may not need to add any layers unless you want to add a layer that says Scenery Act 1 or Scenery England and Scenery Egypt. That might be the only thing that you want to have big groups like that. So you can turn off Egypt, you can turn off England when you're not working on them. Okay? I would personally still tend to do it with classes because that's just the way I work. I just do everything. I do almost everything in classes. Okay, so classes, we've got this whole long list, and we look at this drop-down menu, okay, and it's active only, gray others, gray snap. It's exactly the same, okay, and it works exactly the same. So remember, everything has a layer and a class. So I can set it up that I can only edit very specific things. If I don't have the layer and the class selected, I can't edit something. Or I can say I'm going to be freer and let myself edit things even where I'm not working. That's kind of up to you. And we're going to just kind of look at some of this stuff. Let me zoom out here. Okay. So you guys can kind of see what the classes are. So we have arch. That is our proscenium arch. And I want to show you that there's an eyeball next to it. That means visible. I can click in the next column. That's an X. That turns it off. And I can click in the next box. That makes it gray. Okay, so I can tell things apart. And one thing, even if it is gray or off, if it is active, if it has the check mark next to it, it's fully visible. Okay, I'm going to turn the proscenium arch back on. We have blackout curtains. I have that turned off at the moment. You may say, oh, where's the blackout curtain? Oh, look, it's upstage. The catwalk is the catwalk in the proscenium arch. You probably don't need that, so you can just turn it off. So you have all of these things that you can turn on and off, and I'm going to let you guys play with that and see what you need. I just want to show you how to turn stuff on and off. You see what I mean when I turn all the pipes on in the theater? That gets really hard to work with, doesn't it? Yeah. So they're there if you need them, but you can turn them off. Okay. You can turn off any of these things that you want. And if you want to know what an object is, so you want to select an object, but you can't select it, what you can do is right-click on a PC or a Mac with a 2-button mouse, or control-click if you don't have a 2-button mouse, and click on something, you get a drop-down menu. A couple of things here. Active class means that object you just clicked on, make its class active. Now you can edit it. Active layer, make its class active. Now you can, or make its layer active. Now you can edit. Or force select is going to set its class and its layer to active so that you can edit it. Does that make sense? Okay. And how do you know what? So I'm going to force select this. Okay. Now up here, I've selected it. And I selected the arch because it's high, because up here it says arch here, and building. And this is your active class, or your active layer is right here. So I can set it back to sets anytime I want. And I can reset my active stuff here on this drop-down menu if I don't have my navigation window open. So if you want to create a new class, and again, I recommend every type of object should have its own class. So like furniture maybe should have its own class. Or platforms, or, well, walls already has one. So, oh look, I've put one in for you that might be useful. Okay? Anything that you think I might want to turn that, bless you, I might want to turn that off and not be distracted. Okay? There are a couple of things. Doors and walls have to be on the same class and layer. The door that goes inside a wall, they have to be the same. There are a couple of rules like that. We'll touch on them when we get to them. If you find Vectorworks isn't letting you separate something, there's probably the reason that it's not allowed to be separated. But if you think about it, a door is part of a wall. A window is part of a wall. So those go together. Okay? So let's say I want to create a new class. If I double click up here, I get my organization toolbox. Okay? And here are all my classes. Look at them. So I want a new one. I click new. I have to name it. Chris's furniture. Okay. You don't have to, name it whatever you want. The one thing I will tell you is that Vectorworks alphabetizes. So I find that it's sometimes very clever to put an A or a Z in front of a name of something I want to be able to find really quickly, because then it's going to alphabetize. Okay. So Chris's furniture, I click enter, and there it is. It's right there. It's created. When I leave here, Chris's furniture is now on my list. So I can now make that active and draw on it. Make sense? To create layers, same thing. Double click up here. And by the way, once you're in the organization, there's layers and classes. You can bounce back and forth and create everything you need. Okay. As you start working, take a moment and jot down everything you think you're going to need for your show. Again, you guys might want scenery. You might want to change sets and create 2 of them. So what I could do is I can edit this and say sets. Whoops, wrong one. Cancel. Set, edit. I can do sets dash England. Okay. And new sets dash Egypt. Okay. And now I've just created a box for Egypt and a big layer, a big box for either of them. Okay, and they're there. One of the things I want to let you know when you put a dash in a name, and click OK. It's not going to do it here. There's another box I'm going to show you. We're going to deal with this box a lot in a little while, but. Let me draw something really quickly. Okay. I just need an object. So I'm going to select the object. And in my object info box, I guess it's not going to do it. Things with a dash in them, it sometimes collapses. So if you have sets dash England and sets dash England, you might have to scroll down to sets and you won't see England. You'll just see a section labeled sets. And then when you highlight over it, it'll break itself apart into 2, where you'll see England and Egypt. And I probably need a whole long list of stuff before it's going to bother doing that, because I only have 4 layers at the moment and it doesn't save space to do that. Just be aware that if you put a hyphen in, it will group your things together. So don't go, oh my gosh, I put it in, now I can't find it. I just have this one called, it's there, it's just grouped. 2015, those of you using Vectorworks 2015, groups a lot more aggressively than 2012 did. But 2012 will also group things when it says, oh, you have too many to display at the moment, I'm going to collapse them and group them. They're there. It's just like using, your web browser. If you have your bookmarks in folders, you scroll over the folder, then it expands. You know what I'm talking? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we've got layers and classes and moving around. Let me just double check what else I'm supposed to show you guys today. And basic printing. Okay. We have one more lesson. I'm going to close this file. I'm not going to save it. You guys, however, should always save your work. Okay? I didn't save that because I drew a box on the page. Okay? Your homework assignment number 1 is VW assign 1 and 2. Okay? And it's on Blackboard. And it's the first file. So go into Blackboard and content, Vectorworks files. VW assign 1 and 2 is the file you will need to do your first Vectorworks homework assignment. We have a while before it's due. Okay? In fact, we have another lesson before it's due. But I'm going to select that. Oh, so I had to open it. Mine will select in 2015. Close. File. Open. Okay. We're going to get into more in-depth printing later on. Printing can be complicated. Your first file is set up to print properly. All you have to do is open the file and read the instructions. So let's find the instructions on here. Oh, look, there's instructions over here. Let's zoom in using our marquee to read them. Assignment 1. In the box to the right, and using the shapes learned in class, we didn't learn the shapes yet. That's our next lesson. Draw a picture. Make sure you are drawing on the student layer and the My Drawings class. Once you have completed the drawing, save the file as assignment 1 and print out the drawing. Does that make lots of sense? Look, the instructions are here. Okay. So how do we set our drawing to student layer? How do I make sure I'm working on the student layer? I go to my layer menu. Okay? And I check next to it, so I have instructor layer, design layer, student layer. We want student layer, right? And we want it on what class? My drawings. So I click over here, and oh, it's already set up for you. I was a really nice guy. Okay. You do want to make sure that you have followed those instructions, though, because if not, it's not going to print properly. Okay. And in the box on the right. Okay. So we're going to zoom to fit again, and you guys see, oh look, there's a giant box on the right. Okay. Your drawing, if you put it in here, will print properly. I'm going to say that one more time. If you do your drawing in here, it will print properly. Now, if you, I was good, you can't even grab this. If you move the box, it won't print properly. Okay? This is a, I don't want to say it's a trick, but I've done stuff behind the scenes in this file. So don't move this box, draw inside the box, and it will print properly. Okay? I always have someone who moves the box. They do the drawing somewhere else, they move the box, and they come and they go, it doesn't print. Okay? So how do we get to print? Assuming you have drawn in the box and you haven't moved the box. To print, File, Print, and all you have to do now is hit print. That's it. It will print. File, Print, Print. If you are printing this out in the Idea Lab, you are allowed to print 5 pages per day for free. Okay? If you're doing this at home, you have to have a printer hooked up to your computer, and you have to have the printer set up properly. Okay? If you have multiple printers, set it up like this. Yes? Okay, so the question that was just asked is, I need to make this into a PDF file and send it. So, and you have a Mac, so this is really easy for you. You bring this window up, and you see the little button down here that says PDF. You click on PDF, and you do Save as PDF. I will give you one minor warning. Are you downloading 2015 or 2012? Then you don't need the warning. Vectorworks bought a license to create PDFs from Adobe. It creates really, really good PDFs. In fact, PDFs that are so good that Preview in your Mac operating system has trouble opening them. So you may need to download Adobe's PDF reader. If you're doing 2015, and are you on Yosemite? Or are you still on Mavericks? Okay. Okay. If you're on Yosemite, I have not had that problem in Yosemite yet. Now, I've only been on Yosemite for 4 weeks, so Mavericks, it was a huge problem. For those, Mavericks is one of the Mac operating systems. The lab so far has been pretty good, but just print, unless you need to make the PDF, just hit print, okay? I'm going to show you another way to do a PDF. This makes absolutely stunningly beautiful PDFs that Preview has trouble opening. But if you go Vectorworks, File, Export, PDF, and select that, and you will need to do pages 1-to-1 for this assignment, okay? For later assignments, you'll actually be doing this, but you'll be doing export whole printable area. So for this assignment, if you need to make a PDF of it, because you don't have a printer, you're going to do this at home, but you don't have a printer at home, and you need to bring it to campus to print, do it here, and you'll just select pages 1-to-1. Make sense? And by the way, that is a great trick if you want to work at home but do not have a printer at home. In Vectorworks, export to a PDF. You will not be able to do the print PDF because that's a Windows trick, or a Macintosh trick. At least I haven't been on a PC in a while. Do any of you have a print to PDF button in your PCs? Okay. Probably not. I had not heard of Windows actually doing that. So just take the time to do export PDF, page 1-to-1. Load that onto a memory stick or email it to yourself, and you can come onto campus and print it. Again, Idea Lab, 5 pages per day for free, or what is it, 12 cents a day in the library? Or 12 cents a page in the library? 10? Wow, that has not gone up the whole time I've been here. That's amazing.
Color is 50.
Well, luckily, I'm never going to ask you to print anything in color out of Vectorworks.
Okay.
Now, there are a couple things that it might be easier if you print in color out of Vectorworks, but you have other options. Does that make sense? Yeah. You will find out when you get to Vectorworks Lesson 2. So, because I haven't shown you the tools yet, officially. We had that extra kind of day where we got ahead, but I will go over that. I just don't want to overload you guys with Vectorworks because I show you all the tools at once. You'll be like, confused. I do recommend, though, sometime next week or later today, I would say tomorrow, but there's no school tomorrow. If you are using the lab or you have not downloaded Vectorworks to your home machine yet, go into the Idea Lab MS-102 for 15 minutes. Download the theater file, your main stage version 2012 file, and move around. Turn layers and classes on and off. Maybe create yourself a layer or two. Move around in 3D. You can save it. If you're going to save it, you need to save it to a USB drive or to some kind of Dropbox, because anything you save on the computers in the Idea Lab gets deleted at midnight. Automatically, the computers clean themselves, so saving in there, not such a bright idea. But play with it, move around, practice turning things on and off, practice seeing things, look around the file, okay? Vectorworks is, I do not think, a super challenging program if every time I teach you a little chunk of it, you go play with that little chunk of it. Where students tend to get into trouble from past experience is a student who has not opened Vectorworks before week like 16 of the semester and has to put their entire show in Vectorworks in 2 weeks, and then someone's in here crying because Vectorworks is impossible and how dare I assign something so complicated and no one could possibly learn this. And I'm always usually pointing out that, everyone else in the class has done it. So please do not be that student. And I have particularly vivid memories. So if I ever refer to that student as female, I've had male and female students have the same issue. I just had the biggest, loudest screaming fit at me by a female student, and I just picture her every time I'm teaching a Vectorworks lesson. And it has nothing to do with her gender. I just, out of politeness, do not want to name her in case any of you know her. So... It was Megan. No. Please, Vectorworks is very easy if you practice with it. And you go, well, you gave us a 20-minute lesson. You said we can practice for 10 minutes. Yeah, go do it. Don't just assume you're going to remember how to do this, okay? I will get the video up by the end of the day. Any other questions on the stuff we covered today? It is in the Idea Lab, MS-102. The Vectorworks site license for the college that the college is using. They tried to explain it to me. There is a reason why they can only have it. All the computers using it have to be on the same subnetwork. Does that sound like right, computery folks? Anyway... The subnetwork that the Idea Lab is on is this building and the music speech building. So Jeff's computer can access the Vectorworks in the Idea Lab. And I guess mine could too, but I like to use 2015 and I have my own copy. But yeah, you need to be doing it. Also, if you're working at home and you want to save the file because you want to then come work in the Idea Lab, let me quickly just show you how to do that. Well, I'm not going to be able to totally show you how to do it because I'm in Vectorworks 2012. But file, export, and if you scroll down to the bottom of your 2015, it will have export to Vectorworks 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2014. So you have 2015. You can't export to 2015. You're already in 2015. Just remember, if you need to bring it to the Idea Lab to work, you need to have it in 2012 format. If you are bringing it to class to ask me a question or show me something, I have 2015 on my computer, so if you bring it to me in class, I can open it, okay? And once you guys start working in Vectorworks, anytime you have a problem or a challenge and you need a little help, bring your file with you to class. Because if you say, I'm having this problem, I think lots of people are having it, I will take 10 minutes out of class and load it up and show it to you. Or we'll spend our 10-minute break and I'll show you how to fix it. Okay? I highly recommend having a little does everyone have a little USB drive? Okay? Or a big USB drive? Okay? Have one. I actually recommend having two, and have multiple copies of your file places, because if you put your USB drive through the washing machine, they don't work very well after that. You don't want to lose all of your work. And I've had students lose all their work at the end of the semester and have to do it all over again. Don't be that person. Okay? Save early, save often, keep multiple copies of your file, so that if something screws up, you can get another one. And again, I highly recommend, I put this on the syllabus, Dropbox. Google has a Dropbox thingy called Google Drive. You guys might be getting a drive when on Tuesday when you have the new computer system for the students. You guys not heard about that? Okay. Yes, you were going to have a... I'm going to stop the recording, so you don't need this. You guys are going to have what's called